In this video, I'm going to show you how I put together the cutest sunflower inspired backdrop for my client's first annual beauty brunch event. Be sure to stick around for part 2, where I'm going to show you how I put together 3 different sunflower centerpieces, as well as how I set up the rest of the table. Welcome to Event Styles LLC, where we bring the style to your events. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to create a custom acrylic sign for my client's backdrop. This is actually her logo. So what I did was I got it printed out on vinyl, and I got it printed 2 feet wide. So what I'm doing now is actually I'm cutting out everything because it came out a lot more pixelated than I wanted it to be. So what I'm doing now is I'm just cutting out the logo to remove the the grainier look from it. And then in a minute you'll see that I'm going to attach it to a acrylic sheet. So now I'm actually removing the backing. It's almost as if this is a sticker. I remove the backing, and then now I'm putting it on a 12 by 12 inch acrylic sheet, and I'm just going as gentle as I can, and I'm just attaching it to the acrylic sheet. And I did go ahead and put the back of a wrapping paper behind it, just so I would be able to see if I'm applying it in a straight line. What I'm doing now is I'm going to start assembling my Boxwood Hedge. So these panels I got from Amazon from a company called Newton. What I'm doing is taking my zip ties and I'm connecting them together to form columns. I connected 5 of these panels together. Each of them are 20 inches by 20 inches. So what I'm doing now is creating a dripping floral effect that's going to be on the left side of the backdrop. These are vines that I purchased from Amazon, and I'm just spreading them about ½ an inch apart from each other and using hot glue gun to secure them to a wooden dowel that I also purchased from Amazon. And next I'm going to go in with these sunflower vines, also from Amazon. This time I'm going in with some glue as well as a little bit of zip ties to really hold them into place. And I'm not having them as close as the other vines because I don't want them to be overpowering on the backdrop. So I am going to spread them apart. And then now I'm just testing to see if I like how it looks, because sometimes you can have an idea in your head and think it's going to look one way, but in real life it ends up looking completely different. So I just wanted to check that I actually like the way that it looks, and all I did was zip tie it to the top of the backdrop stand, and I honestly loved it. And I wanted to make sure that it was on something as thin as a dowel, that way it doesn't take up that much space. Now I'm going to start blowing up the balloons. I got the colors yellow, white, and gold in the sizes of 18 inch, 12 inch, and 5 inch. And I also have a marble balloon that is white and also yellow that I thought was a super cute touch to the balloon look. What I'm doing now, I'm just blowing them up and then tying them into pairs, and this is known as duplets in the balloon world. And in a little bit you'll see me take these pairs and actually tie them together to form something called quads, which are 4 balloons that are tied together like I'm doing right now. And I'm just taking the neck of the balloons and I'm stretching them out far enough to wrap it around the entire quad and secure it to itself. For the most part, for the balloons clusters that I created, I used 12 balloons in total. What I did was I just took the neck of the balloons and I just pulled them around each other so they could be secured, just like I did when I was forming the quad. And for most of them, I had the larger 18-inch balloons at the back like this one, and then the 12-inch balloons in the front, just like in this cluster. But that wasn't always the case. Some clusters were all of 5-inch balloons and some clusters were all 12-inch balloons. It's really what I thought would look best for the look in total, but for the most part, that was the pattern that I used. If you are enjoying this video, don't forget to like, comment down below what you think, and subscribe. So this was actually the day before the event. I'm not in the actual venue. This is at my sister's apartment. So what I'm doing is I'm actually putting the clusters together to see if I like the pattern. It's one thing to have the idea in your head, and it's another thing to actually see it in real life. So that's why I wanted to have everything set up today, so I would have one, a game plan, and two, make sure that everything looked the way that I wanted it to look. So I'm not actually securing everything now to the stand as I would if it was actually at the venue, because I want these balloons to be able to be removed so I can actually transfer it to where the venue actually is. So this is just a closer look of how I put together the clusters. Again, I just used the neck of the balloons and I wrapped them around each other to form the clusters. And from there, I just popped them onto the backdrop stand in the pattern that I thought looked the best. The next thing I'm going to do is go in and start filling in the gaps with 5-inch balloons, and I'm using a 260 to just hold them into place, and I'm wrapping them around the actual cluster and not the stand. This is how I created the elongated base. If you look on the very bottom left of the backdrop, I have a large gold cluster, and that is all 18-inch gold clusters that I attached to the very bottom left of the backdrop stand itself. So whenever you want to create an elongated base, you do that by creating clusters. So I always have my first cluster be bigger than the others, and then I'm just going to have a smaller cluster of 12-inch balloons on the side, and I just attached it together with 260 balloons, and then later on I just added another smaller cluster, at the top to make it look a little bit more fuller. Now I'm going to build the cluster that's going to go on the bottom right of the stand. All I'm doing is taking some marble balloons as well as some yellow balloons, and these are all 12 inches, and I'm just tying them together to form a giant cluster, and I'm just twisting them around to make sure that I like the shape. And then I went at the very top, I added some 5-inch gold balloons, and again I'm just taking the neck of the balloons and I'm pulling them to tie them together, and then I decided to add an 18-inch at the bottom just to add a little bit contrast in the size and the shape. And then at the very top I just took a accent sunflower balloon that I got from Amazon, and I just secured it with a 260 balloon, and that is how I created the little piece that went on the right side. Now it is the actual day of the event. The very first thing I did was go in and set up my backdrop stand. Now I will be quite frank, this backdrop stand is from Emart. I got it off of Amazon on the Emart store, and this was probably the worst experience that I ever had with the company. In general, Emart is amazing. Maybe this wasn't the right stand for this type of backdrop, but when I say that this was literally atrocious, like I can't put into word how terrible this was. I actually bought it because it has a square base to it, but the first thing I did after I set it up was go ahead and attach those columns that we built the day before of the Boxwood Hedge with zip ties. Again, I used columns of 5 panels of 20 by 20 inch Boxwood Hedge, and I just created these little columns and I attached them onto the backdrop stand. Next, I went in with the floral hanging effect that I glued to some dowels. I'm going to go in with some zip ties and attach it to the actual stand on the left hand side. From there, I began to attach balloons around the backdrop stand. You can see me going in with the little right hand side cluster that I built the day before, but I want you to take note of how bad this backdrop stand is actually leaning. If you look on the bottom, very bottom left, right above those yellow balloons that you see, I actually have zip ties And what I ended up doing was put a table behind the backdrop stand, and I zip tied this stand to the table because it was just leaning that bad and I was scared that it was actually going to fall. So I put all my equipment, everything I brought with me, I ended up putting it directly on top of the table that's behind of the backdrop stand, and that's how I got it to stand up as beautiful as it is now actually. And you couldn't even see the table by the time that I added the balloons to the side. This backdrop was actually a very huge success for the event. Everyone loved it. If you would like to recreate a similar look, let me know and go ahead and tag me because I would love to see how you guys put this together and what you guys do different. Also, if you have any questions, if I didn't explain any part well enough, comment down below or DM me on my social media platforms, and I will be more than happy to assist you guys and help you guys out. Be sure to stick around for part 2, where I'm going to show you how I decorated the tables, where I put together 3 different sunflower inspired centerpieces, as well as how I set up the rest of the tables. Thank you for watching the video. Let us know what you think in the comment sections down below, and be sure to follow us on our other social media pages to stay connected with us, and we'll see you in the next video.